In June of 2023, the European Parliament voted to force all of the consumer devices to have easily removable batteries. Now, this clearly means that the battery changing process will require no special tools. Now, they clearly stated that this process must be so simple that it might be carried out by a layman. Almost all the smartphones today are designed like a glass sandwich, and this was the design that was settled upon as the smartphone market matured. The glass sandwich method of construction is sleek and thin, but it relies on the use of a lot of adhesives. Now, this law would mean that the very fundamentals of how the companies design their smartphones needs to change. Unless the companies figure out a way to build their smartphones without the use of adhesives. All of the major manufacturers from Apple to Google will be affected. Foldable smartphones especially will face a lot of challenge in trying to comply with these regulations. We're going to have to wait and see on that front. But one thing you might be wondering that how will these laws affect the rest of the world? Well, it's likely that the smartphone manufacturers are not going to design certain smartphones for EU. Now, the simple reason being it is going to be so expensive that it is going to eat up most of their profits. Apple, for example, is very unlikely to make a removable battery iPhone for the EU and a smartphone with a non-removable battery for the rest of the world. Now, this law even affects tablets, EVs, and basically anything with a rechargeable battery. Now, this law was approved in July of 2023 and it is going to come into effect in 2027. Now, this gives the manufacturers over 3 years to get their act together. This is going to be big, especially for Apple, who have never even made any kind of smartphones with a removable battery. Since the very first iPhone, even Samsung stopped featuring removable batteries in their smartphone. Many people think that waterproofing and dustproofing is going to become harder inside of these smartphones. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar, the right to repair movement calls for their consumer goods to be easily repairable. We've already seen this trend when your TV or any kind of appliance is broken, we simply try to get a new one instead of repairing it. This is due to the components being more complex and integrated over time. Now, it's really unlikely that we're going to see any kind of changes in upcoming months or a year, but smartphone manufacturers will start to make changes for this compliance. With this new law, we'll start to see new changes in the upcoming few years. Also, it is really unlikely that we're going to see two different smartphones for Europe and rest of the world, but anything is really possible. Also, it's going to be really fascinating what happens to tablets, laptops, and EVs. Regardless, things are going to be really shaken in upcoming few years.